Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something very important. So this is going to be a little different than the stuff we've talked about, which are kind of like techniques, methods, things you could do. This is about a class of things you could do. And my personal opinion is that this is one of the best things you could do to aid your healing in trauma. It's not a once-off thing, it's a bit of a journey, and this is to have a creative practice, a creative pursuit, whether it's some sort of instrument or music or writing, poetry, prose, even nonfiction, like album reviews, whatever it is, dance, painting, drawing, whatever it is. These things are fantastic for healing and for growing positively as a person. It's good for reducing the negative and for building the positive. It'll also give you another dimension to your lifelong journey that personally I would hate to be without. I love making music. I love writing. And I love improving the skills involved with those, because it's kind of strange. When you master anything, you actually master life, because any practice is kind of like analogous to life, right? So I remember when I was learning music at first, just teaching myself with my mom's piano, I discovered a chord which I know now is a major seventh chord. And I felt like it was the beautiful aspect of that nostalgic feeling you get when the sky is overcast and gray on a day where it should rain, but it's not going to rain. But you're not going to see the sun. It's just flat gray, and you feel that nostalgia in you. And it could be a more sad nostalgia or a more beautiful nostalgia in my experience. I discovered the major 7 chord made me feel the beauty of that nostalgia of the overcast sky. So now I'm a young man who wasn't really super aware of that feeling before, and now I can express that feeling in music. So I just grew as a person, as if I had a life experience just by improving at music, at a creative practice. So I cannot stress enough how much I think this is just the most important thing to start today, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time was 19 years ago, but right now, the best time you could plant that tree is right now, and it's so easy. If you like reading, write something. If you like listening to music, sing along. You got an instrument around? Tap on the table. Figure out the rhythms. Figure out how it kind of works, how it's put together, and, move into another instrument when you feel like it. You could start painting if you're a more visual person, or just drawing with a pencil or a pen, because you probably have that there. Now, something that's really difficult for people is putting too much of a burden on themselves. Like, I don't want to draw something because I'm probably not that good. Well, the thing is that if you draw something and it's not that good, you just never show anybody. Just never show anybody. I would suggest keeping it, because in a month from now, and 6 months from now, and a year from now, when you're like amazing, it'll be really interesting to go see that first picture again. But if you want, you could crumple it up and throw it out, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that matters is doing it, is engaging in this. And there's a few other reasons that I'll get into right now, just very quickly, because I know I've taken up all this time just waxing poetic about my love of the craft. One of the things that it does for people with trauma is it provides a non-verbal outlet for expressing emotions. So when you're traumatized, one of the things is that it can be really hard to express it, to explain it, to go back and actually talk about it. And that can make us freeze up. That can be something that our whole system is built around avoiding at this point. And this way, sometimes themes creep into the nonverbal aspect of our work. Textures in the music, textures in the paint, right? Situations even. Analogous situations in the writing. And that is so powerful because it actually allows us to work through something that verbally is just stuck. Another thing that's great is that it gives you control. You're in complete control. Like I said, it doesn't matter if what you do is good. You could crumple it up and throw it out, ignore it for the rest of your life. You have complete control. You could be drawing a person, and then you could just change it into a tree or an airplane, or like you just or a monster. You have complete control. And that is something that people who have these resonances of trauma in them, these echoes of trauma, don't feel often enough. And it's very important. One other thing that I think is super important is the catharsis that you can get from this. Catharsis is so important. This kind of emotional exploration that facilitates emotional release. You also will find that you fall into a flow state once you get truly interested and involved and engulfed in the practice. You're going to find yourself in flow state, which is actually kind of the most healthy state you could be in habitually in your life. You can't be in flow state all the time, but I remember watching a documentary about happiness, and there were two things that all the happiest people in the world had, and it was community and access to flow states frequently. So, cannot stress it enough how amazing that is. The last thing is that it allows you to connect with something. That piece of art that you're making, I mean, you're really, really connected to it if you want to be. And a lot of times when we have trauma, it stops us from connecting with people, right? And it becomes a difficult thing to connect. But then you're alone in this super intimate world of interacting with a piece of art that you are creating. You are the womb. You are birthing something into the world. There's no one else. There's no eyes. It's just you building that connection. And having that connection, and especially once it's a practice that goes on for a while, that connection becomes resilience, because things can happen in your life that normally would throw you for a loop. And you just think about your art. You're just like, I don't really care about that. That's not a priority anymore. Because I'm working on this painting, and I know exactly how I want it to be. And it's just, I'm at work now, but I'm going to go and work on it later. So I'm thinking about that. So I don't actually care about this triggering thing because I'm resilient now. Because I'm connected to something else that I have full control over, that I communicate with, and it mirrors that communication back to me. And I learn about myself without even knowing it. I learn about life without knowing it. So I cannot stress this enough. I am the biggest proponent for having a creative practice, a creative outlet. Start at the beginning, right now. Who cares? Choose anything. You could change at any time, pick something new up. You could put something down and then pick it up again later. I would say just do it. Just create something today. Thank you so much for your time, for listening. I love you. Wish you all the best, and I'll see you tomorrow.